He opened his eyes to salt-stung air and silence, surrounded by endless blue and a deck smeared with something too red to ignore. No crew. No memory. Just a wedding ring on his finger, and a photo of a woman taped to the wheel with one word scrawled beneath it: run. But run from what? Himself? The law? Or a past too dark to face? What would you do if the person you used to be was a monster? He awoke to the creaking of metal and the whisper of waves slapping gently against the hull. His eyelids fluttered open slowly, resisting the invasive glare of the morning sun, as the rocking of the boat fought against the nausea rising in his throat. The air tasted like brine and gasoline. For a few suspended seconds, everything was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that didn't feel empty, but rather stripped. As he sat up, the pain in his head pulsed like a metronome, pounding from the back of his skull and sending flashes of white across his vision. He was on a yacht, large, luxurious, and eerily still. Not a single person in sight. The sails hung slack in the dead wind. The engine was off. And worst of all, he couldn't remember his name. He stumbled to his feet, steadying himself on the varnished wood railing. His bare feet slipped slightly, and that's when he noticed the smears, dark, dried streaks of blood leading toward the cabin below deck. Panic set in fast, sharp, and breathless. He staggered backward, eyes darting across the empty deck, searching for answers that didn't come. "Hello," he called out, but the sea only echoed back with mocking stillness. He moved with caution now, each step deliberate, as though the yacht itself might react. He opened the door to the cabin slowly, hand trembling on the handle. Inside, the air was colder. The space was in disarray, papers strewn on the floor, a shattered bottle of wine, a laptop blinking with a low battery warning. On a small counter lay a wallet. He snatched it up, his pulse spiking. There was an ID inside, but it didn't spark recognition. It read, Nathaniel Keene. Was that him? The face looked like his. But there was no emotional resonance, just a clinical observation. Alongside it were credit cards, all under the same name, and a folded photograph of a little girl holding a seashell. On the back, in delicate handwriting, "Come home soon, Daddy." He dropped the photo like it burned. The yacht wasn't drifting, the anchor had been cut. The rope lay frayed, as if sliced clean through with a blade. The radio crackled faintly in the corner. He rushed to it, fiddling with the knobs until a voice came through. "This is the Larkspur. We're trying to reach the Seraphine. You've been adrift for 12 hours. Is anyone on board? Over." He pressed the mic, voice unsteady. Yes, I'm here. I don't know what's happening. I think I've lost my memory." Silence. Then, a long, slow reply. "Sir, you need to stay calm. Authorities are looking for that vessel. Do not attempt to leave. Help is on the way." His breath caught. What did they mean, authorities? He hadn't done anything. Had he? As the reality of his situation began to crystallize, the sun shifted behind darkening clouds, casting the ocean in bruised tones. He was alone, lost, and now possibly a fugitive. A journal lay on the table, pages water-damaged and smeared, but one line remained intact, underlined in black ink. "If you're reading this, you've already made the choice." The sky groaned as thunder rolled in the distance. Nathaniel, or whoever he truly was, looked toward the horizon. The sea stretched out endlessly, yet something deep inside told him the real storm hadn't even begun. He moved like a man picking through wreckage, cautious, reverent, hoping not to disturb something sacred or dangerous. The lower cabin of the yacht, dim and narrow, held the atmosphere of a forgotten tomb. Dust clung to the air despite the motion of the sea, and everything smelled faintly of mold and metal. A shattered picture frame lay face down near the kitchenette, the glass cracked in a starburst. He knelt, brushed the pieces aside, and turned it over. A family portrait. The same man from the ID, his face, smiling beside a woman with dark hair and clever eyes, and a small child clinging to his shoulder. The backdrop was a garden of some kind, and in the bottom right corner, faint but visible, the date, April 14, 2021. 2 years ago. His hands trembled. He was a husband. A father. Or at least, that man had been. But why couldn't he feel anything? Desperate for context, He began rifling through the drawers and cabinets, yanking open doors like a burglar on a time limit. In a weather-sealed drawer beneath the navigation panel, he found a stack of documents, all bearing the same name, Nathaniel Keene. Insurance paperwork, financial records, yacht registration. But buried beneath the ordinary was something odd, a letter written in someone else's handwriting. Feminine. Nate, I know you said you needed time, but we're running out of it. They asked about you again. You promised this would be over by now. Please, come back. She misses you. I miss you. It was signed simply, M. That single initial jolted through him like a lightning strike. The name was right on the edge of his tongue, sharp, familiar, and agonizingly unreachable. In the adjacent cabin, a locked trunk took center stage. Thick, rusted latches and a built-in keypad. He stared at it, unsure how to even begin. But beside it sat a duffel bag, unzipped and half-spilled. Inside were several notebooks, old and discolored, filled with sketches, lists, and notes in varying stages of legibility. One page read, "Don't trust the mirrors." She said memory is like a painting. What matters isn't what's true, it's what's left in. Find the lighthouse. He snapped the book shut. What mirrors? What lighthouse? Each clue seemed to deepen the maze rather than lead him out of it. The laptop still blinked, its battery low. He plugged it into a port on the wall and waited. After a tense minute, it flickered to life, revealing a desktop cluttered with video files. Many were corrupted or unreadable, but one folder remained intact, home footage. He hesitated, then clicked. The screen brightened with a home video, shaky, handheld, panning across a backyard where a girl, no older than 5, ran barefoot through the grass, shrieking with laughter. Off-screen, the cameraman's voice called out, "Marina! Slow down, sweetheart, you're gonna fall." The girl looked back, grinning wildly. Marina. The name made his heart seize. And the voice was his. No doubt. No hesitation. It was him. He watched the video 3 times, each time hoping for more, for context, for a whisper of who he really was beneath the voice. But each time, it ended the same way. Marina running into the arms of the woman from the photo, the two of them silhouetted by sunset, the camera shaking as it was lowered to the ground. When the video stopped, the screen went black. For a long moment, he sat still. Then the screen flashed again. A new file had appeared, time-stamped only hours before he'd woken up. It had no name, just a string of numbers. He clicked it. The image was blurry, unfocused, but he recognized the yacht's cabin behind the speaker. Himself, blood on his face, shirt torn, eyes wide with either fear or madness. "If you're watching this, something went wrong," he said in a whisper. "I tried to erase it. All of it. But maybe I wasn't strong enough. Maybe the sea wasn't far enough. Marina, I'm sorry. I'm so..." The video glitched. Then ended. He stared at the blank screen. Was he trying to forget, or had someone else made him forget? Was it guilt? Or protection? He rose to his feet, nausea climbing his throat again. The puzzle wasn't just about memory. It was about intention. Whatever had happened, whatever he'd done or fled from, he hadn't just left breadcrumbs. He'd booby-trapped them. Like a man both desperate to be found and terrified of what would be uncovered. In the corner of the room, a mirror caught his eye. He approached it cautiously. For a moment, he didn't recognize the man staring back. Bruised. Gaunt. Haunted. Then he saw it, on the frame's underside, etched so faintly it nearly disappeared into the wood grain. "Don't look away." He didn't. Not this time. The next morning began not with sunlight, but with static. A burst of garbled radio chatter pierced the cabin's uneasy silence, dragging him from a shallow, dreamless sleep on the floor. He bolted upright, heart pounding, as the voice crackled again, male, insistent, almost frantic. "The Seraphine, respond if you're receiving. We are 20 nautical miles off your port side. Repeat, the Seraphine, your vessel has been flagged. Confirm your identity immediately." He scrambled toward the receiver, fumbling with the "Yes, this is Nathaniel Keene," he said, hesitantly, as though trying the name on for size again. "I'm alone." I just woke up yesterday. I don't remember anything. A pause. Then the voice came back, lower, darker. Copy that. Stay where you are, Mr. Keene. Authorities have been alerted. Do not attempt to flee. Before he could respond, the channel went dead. He stood frozen, gripping the radio with white-knuckled hands. The words rang in his ears like a sentence. Flagged, authorities, flee. He moved to the deck, squinting into the distant haze. There, on the edge of the horizon, a speck. A boat, growing steadily larger, angling toward him. Whoever they were coming fast. And they weren't sending a rescue party. His mind reeled. What did they want? Who had he been? Back in the cabin, he searched again, more frantically this time, pulling apart every drawer, locker, and panel. In the storage bay beneath the galley sink, he found a weatherproof bag sealed with duct tape. Inside, cash. Stacks of US dollars and euros bound in rubber bands, packed alongside burner phones, a fake passport under the name Daniel Rains, and a flash drive labeled Last Option. He inserted the drive into the laptop with trembling fingers. It held only a single file, an audio recording. A man's voice, his voice again, speaking low and fast. If you're hearing this, it means the memory blockers worn off too soon. You weren't supposed to wake up here. Not yet. That means they're closing in. A pause. You did what you had to do. You saved her. But it came with a cost. They're going to paint you as a villain. Maybe you were. Maybe you still are. Doesn't matter. Get to the lighthouse. The coordinates are tattooed behind your ear. Don't stop. Don't trust anyone. The audio ended in a static burst. He rushed to the mirror, heart hammering, and turned his head. There, barely visible in the skin's curve behind his ear, numbers. Coordinates. The sight of them made his stomach lurch. A part of him had anticipated this, hadn't he? Enough to plan for it. Enough to tattoo it into his body. He jotted them down and fed them into the yacht's navigation system. A map appeared, somewhere off the coast of Portugal, a tiny, unnamed rock island with a single mark, St. Verena's Light. No habitation, no tourism, no access. Just a historical ruin with a disused beacon and a long-forgotten war bunker built beneath it. Something deep in his gut twisted into knots. He climbed up to the navigation deck, hands gripping the wheel, and turned the boat into the wind. The engine sputtered, then roared to life. The course was set. He was going to the lighthouse. But as the yacht surged forward, another voice burst from the radio. Female, this time, calm and icy. Keene, you're making a mistake. We know who you are. We know what you took. Turn around now. This isn't just about you anymore. He hesitated. The signal wasn't official, it wasn't coming from the same ship. Was it her? The woman in the photograph? Or someone pretending to be? The truth weighed heavily on him as the yacht cleaved through the waves. Whoever he was, he had enemies. And not just the kind who wanted revenge, but the kind who watched, waited, and hunted. He remembered the bloodstains on the deck, the broken wine bottle, the message in the journal. You've already made the choice. What choice? To run. To forget. To leave someone behind. A memory flashed, brief and blinding. A hand reaching out through the storm, a child crying, his own voice screaming, not her. Take me instead. Then blackness. He stumbled, gripped the wheel tighter. The memory faded, but the weight of it stayed. By late afternoon, the lighthouse emerged like a phantom from the mist. Jagged rocks surrounded the base, and the building itself leaned slightly, weather-beaten and forgotten. He dropped anchor offshore and took the dinghy in, the small motor coughing as it pushed through the surf. As he neared the rocky shore, he spotted something that made his blood run cold, a fresh set of boot prints leading up from the waterline. Someone else was here. Recently. He grabbed the emergency flashlight and tucked the burner phone into his pocket. Every instinct screamed at him to turn back, but something else, deeper, older, urged him on. A final chance to know. To remember. To confront. The lighthouse door hung open. Inside, the scent of mildew and rust choked the air. The interior spiraled upward in a tight staircase, but he didn't climb. Instead, he followed the path downward into the foundation, where a rusted panel had been torn open to reveal a hidden passage. As he stepped into the dark, his flashlight flickered. Footsteps echoed ahead. He wasn't alone. And if someone was here waiting, then maybe, just maybe, they had the answers. Or maybe they had something else entirely. The narrow passage under the lighthouse groaned with age, stone walls slick with condensation and the scent of rot clinging to the air like old breath. The flashlight flickered again, weak but insistent, revealing rusted railings and forgotten symbols scratched into the stone. Numbers, letters, even crude illustrations of stars and eyes that seemed to follow him. With every step downward, his pulse grew louder in his ears. The path forked, left and right. He chose left, drawn by a faint trail of footprints in the dust. The air thickened, and his skin prickled with the sense that the structure itself was watching him, storing every footfall in some silent memory. The silence was broken only by the drip of water and the occasional flutter of wings, bats, maybe, or something more sinister, scuttling just out of reach. At the end of the tunnel, a metal door stood ajar, its hinges bent and scarred by something violent. Beyond it lay a room that looked like the remains of a Cold War intelligence cell, flickering monitors, old radio equipment, maps pinned to cork boards with red string connecting scattered locations, some of them circled in angry ink. And there, illuminated by a single desk lamp, was a file folder labeled Keen, Contingency. He approached it with dread, not curiosity. Inside were printed photographs, some surveillance stills, some candid, some deeply personal. Him, watching his daughter play in a park. Him, arguing with a woman who looked just like him, handing over a briefcase to a man in a dark alley, both wearing masks. Each image was time-stamped, logged, and annotated in a language he didn't fully understand, but the implications were crystal clear. He had been watched. Tracked. He hadn't just disappeared, he had gone dark, gone rogue. And someone had been keeping tabs, waiting for him to make a move. The last page of the file wasn't a photo. It was a letter. Typed. Cold. Nathaniel Keene is to be neutralized upon sight. Target is volatile, compromised, and in possession of classified materials. Psychological profile suggests increasing instability. Subject may attempt contact with civilian family, terminate if necessary. He staggered backward, stomach heaving. The words swam in his mind. Terminate if necessary. Had he done something to deserve this? Or had someone rewritten his life into a threat too dangerous to be allowed to live? The man he once was, the one captured in those photographs, had a sharpness in his eyes, a calculation in his posture. He looked like someone who knew too much. Someone who chose exile. And maybe memory loss had been the safest version of escape. But now, standing amid the wreckage of who he used to be, he wasn't sure if the enemy was out there, or inside himself. A sound jolted him, a voice echoing down the hallway, faint but unmistakably human. You shouldn't have come here. He spun around, flashlight darting. A figure stepped into the light, female, middle-aged, hair tied back, eyes sunken from years of insomnia. She wore no uniform, just jeans and a faded jacket. But the way she moved, calm and methodical, screamed training. You're not supposed to remember this place, she said. That was the whole point. He opened his mouth to speak, but she cut him off. We tried to keep you safe, Nate. We really did. But you got too close. You asked for this. We warned you. You insisted on the memory block, the isolation. You said you'd rather lose everything than risk Marina getting hurt. The name hit him like a brick. She's alive? He asked, voice cracking. The woman gave him a long look. For now. But not if you keep poking around. You led them straight here. He took a step back. Who are you? He asked. Her lips pressed into a line. Your friend. Once. My name doesn't matter. What matters is this. You have two options. Leave this place. Disappear. Go back to the sea and forget all of this again. Or stay, keep digging, and drag her back into it. But if you stay, Nate, you better be ready to remember everything. Even the parts that made you want to forget. The flashlight dimmed again, casting the room into half shadow. His fingers trembled. Could he really choose ignorance? Was it noble self-sacrifice or cowardice to return to the sea and erase the horrors again? She stepped forward and handed him a small object, a necklace, childish, plastic, with a charm shaped like a dolphin. He took it in silence. "She wears the other half," the woman said. "Even now." That cracked something inside him, the dam of cold detachment that had kept him moving through the mystery. The man in the videos, in the file, in the memories, he had been many things. A liar. A manipulator. A ghost. But he had loved his daughter. That much was real. And if that love had led him to erase himself to keep her safe, then perhaps he hadn't been a monster after all. But love alone wouldn't save her now. The woman turned and walked into the shadows. "They'll be here soon," she called back. "Decide who you want to be before they find you." The radio on the table crackled to life again. A new voice, unfamiliar and urgent. "Inbound on location. Secure the target. Repeat. Secure the target. Orders have changed. Do not terminate." He stared at the necklace in his hand, the echoes of his forgotten life swirling around him like ghosts. There was no safety left in running. But if he chose to fight, truly fight, he'd have to become the man they feared again. The one who had given up everything to protect a child. And maybe that meant doing the one thing he had feared most, remembering it all. The sky outside the lighthouse had darkened into an ominous grey, the wind now sharp with warning as waves battered the rocks below. Nathaniel emerged from the underground chamber a different man than the one who had descended. No longer just a passenger in his own life, but a fugitive with a purpose, a ghost clawing his way back to flesh. The necklace hung heavy around his neck, the plastic charm bouncing against his chest with each frantic breath as he made his way back to the yacht. But he wasn't alone anymore. A black vessel loomed in the distance, cutting across the water with military precision, unmarked but clearly built for something other than leisure. He had minutes, maybe seconds. On board, he slammed the hatch shut and locked it, racing back to the cabin where the laptop still glowed faintly. He reinserted the flash drive and dug deeper, running a manual recovery program that slowly resurrected hidden folders buried under layers of encryption. One file pulsed red, "Exit confession." It was dated the night before he'd woken up on the yacht. He clicked play. The video began with static, then focused on his own face, haggard and bruised, eyes ringed with exhaustion. "If you're watching this, it means the failsafe failed," his recorded voice rasped. "You were supposed to forget permanently. But something went wrong. I was afraid of this." He glanced behind him, checking the cabin like a hunted animal. "You want the truth? Fine. I didn't lose everything. I gave it away. On purpose. Because the person I had become, he wasn't worth saving." The video shook as he repositioned the camera. 3 years ago, I found something buried in the network. Not money, not weapons, information. Leverage. Names, operations. Proof of things governments denied even existed. And I thought I could handle it. Thought I could expose it and protect my family at the same time. I was wrong. His eyes filled with tears. They came for Marina first. Not to kill her. No. That would have been too easy. They wanted her alive, to use her against me. To break me. And it worked. His hands clenched into fists on the desk. So I struck a deal. I'd vanish. Erase myself. Give them everything, on one condition, they let her go. Let her and Em disappear completely. He looked into the camera now, hollow and raw. They agreed. But I knew it was a lie. I knew they'd come back one day. That's why I made this. He gestured off-screen. In the compartment behind the bulkhead, there's a kill switch. Not for them. For you. A final purge. One push and this boat goes dark. No GPS. No signal. No memory. His voice trembled. You already pushed it, didn't you? That means they found the decoy. That means you're back in the game. He leaned closer to the lens. And if you are back, listen to me. The files you recovered aren't complete. The real package, the one that can destroy them, is stored under the name Siren. That's what they were after. That's why you had to disappear. The screen flickered and froze for a moment before resuming. But there's something I didn't tell them. Not in the files. Not in the deal. Something only you know now. He pulled something from his pocket and held it up, a photo of Marina, smiling at the beach, eyes closed against the sun. She knows the password. I gave it to her as a bedtime story. They'll never find it unless they find her. And that's why you can't run. Not anymore. You have to finish this. Not for me. For her. The screen glitched again, the image fragmenting as if being corrupted in real time. Tell her I didn't forget, he whispered. Tell her I tried. Then the video cut to black. Nathaniel sat frozen, the silence heavier than any noise. The confession didn't just reveal the past, it obliterated the boundary between who he was and who he'd become. He hadn't just stumbled into danger, he had orchestrated his own disappearance to keep a global conspiracy at bay. And in doing so, he had sacrificed his identity, his memories, and nearly his life. The file he once believed was the end was now just the beginning. The name Siren burned into his thoughts like fire. He searched the drive again. No file under that name. But in a system directory, buried deep beneath layers of false folders and dead ends, he found it, hidden within an audio clip labeled Rainy Day. He opened it. Instead of audio, it triggered a decryption sequence, unlocking a zip archive filled with scanned documents, covert operation logs, photos of agents, offshore banking networks, and surveillance footage of men in high offices doing the unthinkable. It was damning. Dangerous. A bomb waiting to detonate. And somehow, this data was tied to Marina. She had been the last piece. The final layer of protection. The one person who could access the key. As the black ship drew closer in the distance, he knew what was coming. They weren't there to negotiate. They were there to wipe everything, him, the data, the past. But now he had the truth. And the truth had teeth. His mind raced through the options. Fight. Run. Broadcast the data to the world. Hide again. He turned to the console and began uploading the files to a secure satellite relay, one that would disperse them to dozens of global journalists if the signal was lost. Insurance. Vengeance. Justice. The words no longer felt like fantasy. They were fuel. And just as he hit send, the yacht rocked violently. They had arrived. The impact rocked the hull with a force that knocked him against the navigation panel, sharp pain blooming in his ribs as boots thundered onto the deck above. They didn't shout orders or announce their presence. Whoever had come aboard knew this wasn't a rescue. Nathaniel pulled himself up, blood from a split eyebrow dripping down his cheek, and bolted into the cabin, grabbing the burner phone and sliding the hard drive into his waistband. The upload progress ticked past 71%, a blinking green bar crawling forward at a torturous pace. From outside came the low thud of footsteps descending into the ship, deliberate and synchronized, as if they'd done this 100 times before. He glanced at the makeshift explosive he had found earlier, wired to the yacht's fuel reserve, dormant unless manually triggered. It was crude, destructive, and unforgiving. Just like the truth he now carried. But he hesitated. Was vengeance the only answer? Or had he already scorched enough earth? A voice called down from the hallway. Female, crisp, calm, keen, we don't want to hurt you. You've done enough of that to yourself. He recognized it. The woman from the lighthouse. No longer hiding in shadow. She stepped into view wearing tactical gear, sidearm holstered but her hand never far from it. The data's gone, isn't it? She asked. It's not just with you anymore. He didn't answer. She studied him, then slowly lowered her hand. You weren't supposed to wake up, she said quietly. That was the deal. You knew what was at stake. You begged us to make you forget. And we honored that. We honored everything. Her eyes flicked to the console behind him, where the green bar now read 83%. But you couldn't stay buried. You always crawl back to the surface. Even your guilt has claws. He stepped forward, clutching the burner phone like a weapon. You were never protecting me, he said. You were protecting the lie. She looked tired. Not defeated, resigned. We were protecting your daughter, she replied. Because that was the only thing you ever truly loved. The only thing worth saving. A long silence stretched between them as waves slapped against the hull, the tension taut as piano wire. He finally spoke, voice low. "Where is she?" The woman didn't flinch. "Safe. Happy. Living a life where her father isn't a headline or a ghost." He laughed bitterly. "Then why chase me now?" Her reply came like a blade. "Because you lit the fuse again. And there's no putting the fire back in the matchbox." Sirens wailed outside, coastal patrol or someone worse. Maybe local authorities had picked up the incoming data signal, or maybe the organization had backup upon backup. Either way, time had collapsed into seconds. 94%. The woman stepped aside, revealing two armed men behind her. "Give us the drive, Nate. We'll wipe it, and you can disappear again. Just like before." His jaw clenched. "And if I don't?" She shrugged. "Then you die. Maybe we all do. But she survives. That's always been the point, hasn't it?" The words slammed into him with unbearable weight. Maybe she was right. Maybe the reckoning wasn't about destroying his enemies, but about choosing who bore the consequences. He looked down at the necklace around his neck, the plastic dolphin charm now smeared with blood. Suddenly, another voice cut through the cabin, digital, automated. "Upload complete. Relay broadcast initialized." The woman's expression shattered into panic. She lunged for the console, but it was too late. The screen flickered as encrypted files shot into secure nodes across the world. A countdown appeared, global release in 72 hours. Insurance. Not for him, for Marina. A final act of protection. "What did you do?" she gasped, backing away. "What you wouldn't," he answered. She pulled her weapon, hand shaking. "It's not too late. I can shut it down from here." But she didn't fire. Maybe she still saw the man she used to know. Maybe she couldn't bring herself to kill a ghost. He stepped back toward the bulkhead and pulled the emergency lever, triggering the hidden compartment behind him. It sprang open with a metallic groan, revealing a sealed waterproof container. He tossed it to her. "Inside is everything they don't want you to know. Use it, or don't. But I'm done running." Chaos exploded on the deck above as another force boarded the yacht. He couldn't tell whose side they were on. Flashbangs detonated, glass shattered, and someone screamed. He turned one last time to the console and typed a short message into the relay system. It would accompany the data to every journalist and whistleblower on the list. A single line. "Tell her I didn't forget." Then he reached for the secondary failsafe, not the explosive, but the beacon hidden beneath the console. With one press, it would send a distress signal not to authorities, but to her. The only person left who might still believe in who he was beneath all the lies. As gunfire echoed through the hull and smoke clouded the narrow passageways, Nathaniel walked out from the cabin, hands raised, not to surrender, but to confront. Not the agents. Not the past. But the version of himself that had chosen silence over redemption. Whatever came next, prison, death, rebirth, it would be honest. Because this time, he remembered everything. And that truth, unshakable and brutal, was finally his to carry.